If you can breathe, you can smile. At first glance, this statement may appear almost too simple, perhaps even naive. In a world that is often filled with stress, suffering, loss, uncertainty, and constant demands on our time and attention, the idea that something as effortless as breathing could give rise to something as meaningful as a smile might seem unrealistic. And yet, from a spiritual perspective, this statement contains an entire philosophy of life within it. It suggests that joy is not something that must be chased, earned, purchased, or achieved through external accomplishments. It proposes that peace is not hidden in some distant future moment when everything finally goes according to plan. Instead, it quietly reminds us that the very fact of our existence, our ability to take a breath, is already enough to justify a gentle smile. To understand this more deeply, we must begin with the breath itself. Breathing is the most fundamental rhythm of life. It is the silent companion that has been with us since the moment we entered this world. Long before we spoke our first word, formed our first memory, or took our first step, we breathed. And we have continued to do so every moment since, without needing to think about it, plan it, or control it. Spiritually speaking, the breath is more than just a biological function. It is the bridge between the body and the mind, the visible and the invisible, the physical and the spiritual. It connects us to the present moment in a way that nothing else can. We cannot breathe in the past, and we cannot breathe in the future. Every breath happens now, and the present moment, the now, is where life truly exists. So often, our inability to smile comes not from what is actually happening in this moment, but from the stories we are telling ourselves about what has happened or what might happen. We replay past regrets, revisit old wounds, and relive painful memories, or we project ourselves into an imagined future, worrying about outcomes that may never occur. In doing so, we abandon the only moment in which peace is possible, the present. But the breath is always here to guide us back. When we bring our awareness to the simple act of inhaling and exhaling, we interrupt the endless stream of thoughts that usually dominate our consciousness. We return to the reality of being alive, not yesterday, not tomorrow, but right now. And in that return, something remarkable begins to happen. We begin to notice that despite everything, we are still here. We are still breathing, and that realization, when allowed to settle deeply into our awareness, can give rise to gratitude. Gratitude is not dependent on perfect circumstances. It does not require that life be free of challenges or pain. Rather, it arises from an appreciation of existence itself. The fact that our hearts continue to beat, that our lungs continue to fill with air, that our senses continue to allow us to experience the world, these are not small things. They are miracles so constant that we have forgotten to see them as such. When we truly acknowledge the gift of breath, the impulse to smile emerges naturally, not as a forced expression of happiness, but as a quiet acknowledgement of life. This kind of smile is different from the one we put on for social situations or polite interactions. It is not meant to impress anyone or hide discomfort. It is an inner smile, a gentle softening of the heart that reflects an acceptance of the present moment as it is. In spiritual practice, the inner smile is a powerful tool. It has the capacity to transform our relationship with our thoughts, emotions, and even our physical sensations. When we smile inwardly while breathing, we send a message to our entire being that, in this moment, we are safe enough to relax. We allow tension to dissolve, resistance to soften, and fear to loosen its grip. This does not mean that our problems disappear or that our suffering becomes insignificant. Rather, it means that we are no longer entirely defined by them. We create a small space within ourselves, a place of calm awareness, from which we can observe our experiences without being overwhelmed by them. Consider what happens when you are in pain. either physically or emotionally. The natural reaction is often to tense up, to resist, to wish the pain away. But this resistance frequently intensifies the discomfort, creating an additional layer of suffering. We become upset not only because we are in pain, but because we believe we should not be. However, when we breathe consciously and allow ourselves to smile gently, even in the midst of difficulty, we shift our approach. We stop fighting against reality and begin to accept it. Acceptance does not mean resignation. It means acknowledging what is already true so that we can respond with clarity rather than panic. The breath becomes an anchor. The smile becomes a gesture of trust. Together they form a practice of presence that can be carried into every aspect of our lives. When we are caught in traffic, we can breathe and smile. When we receive disappointing news, we can breathe and smile. When we feel overwhelmed by responsibilities or uncertain about the future, we can breathe and smile. Each time we do this, we remind ourselves that we are more than our circumstances. We reconnect with the deeper dimension of our being, one that is not shaken by every passing storm. This deeper dimension is what many spiritual traditions refer to as the soul, the essence, or the true self. It is the part of us that remains unchanged despite the fluctuations of our thoughts and emotions. It is the silent witness that observes without judgment, the steady presence that endures through all experiences, and it is nourished by awareness. When we breathe mindfully and smile from the heart, we feed this deeper self. We affirm its existence and allow its qualities, peace, compassion, patience, to surface more easily in our daily interactions. Imagine speaking to someone who is upset or angry. If you meet their intensity with your own agitation, the situation is likely to escalate. But if you remain grounded in your breath, maintaining a gentle inner smile, you bring a different energy into the encounter. In this way, the simple act of breathing and smiling becomes not only a personal practice, but also a contribution to the collective well-being. When we cultivate peace within ourselves, we influence the atmosphere around us. Our interactions become less reactive and more compassionate. Our decisions are guided by clarity rather than fear. Over time, this practice can lead to profound transformation. We begin to realize that happiness is not something that arrives when everything is perfect. It is something that can be accessed in small, quiet moments while washing dishes, walking down the street, or sitting in silence. It is present in the rhythm of our breath, waiting to be noticed. We also discover that smiling is not always about feeling happy. Sometimes it is about choosing openness in the face of difficulty. It is about affirming our willingness to engage with life even when it is challenging. There will of course be moments when smiling feels impossible, times of deep grief, loss, or despair. In those moments, the practice may need to begin with the breath alone. Simply noticing that you are still breathing can be enough. The smile may come later, or it may be so subtle that no one else can see it. But even the faintest softening of the heart can make a difference. Spiritual growth does not require dramatic gestures or extraordinary achievements. It often unfolds through small, consistent acts of awareness, through the decision to pause, to breathe, and to meet the present moment with kindness. If you can breathe, you can smile is an invitation to remember this. It is a reminder that no matter how complex life becomes, the path to peace remains accessible. It is as close as your next breath. Each inhalation offers a new beginning. Each exhalation offers a release. And within that cycle lies the possibility of a smile, not as an escape from reality, but as a recognition of the miracle of being alive within it. So long as you can breathe, the door to presence is open. And through that door, peace is always waiting.